Hey everybody, welcome back to Conejo Valley Visionaries, a weekly podcast spotlighting the people and stories behind your favorite Conejo Valley businesses. I'm your host, Christina Denstead. I am thrilled to bring you the live recording from our final Conejo Valley Visionaries live event of the year. It was held earlier this week at Sunrose California Eatery in Agoura Hills. I sat down and spoke with Marc Hernandez, the co-founder of Sunrose, and he was an extremely enjoyable interview. He was candid, he was funny. The audience asked great questions. And if you were there, thank you so much for joining us. Let me know if you want to see more events in 2026, or if you have other ideas of how we can continue to grow this incredible community here in the Conejo Valley. With that, I hope you enjoy this live recording with Marc Hernandez, the co-founder of Sunrose California Eatery in Agoura Hills. If you enjoy this episode and find value in the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and rating. This helps more people find the podcast, and therefore each story can reach more folks in the Conejo Valley. Welcome to Conejo Valley Visionaries Live. Thank you all so much for being here. This is such a special evening. I am thrilled to have the final event of 2025 at Sunrose California Eatery. Thank you, Marc and Carie, for hosting us. It's a fabulous location, and it is more than I could have ever imagined to have not only these live events bringing people together, but to be in a location like Sunrose. I talk about this, but I am somewhat a newbie to the Conejo Valley, and when I first walked into Sunrose just at the beginning of the summer, I was taken aback not only by like the aesthetics of the space, which are really, I love, and then also Marc came up and handed me one of the polenta tea cakes, which is a smart move, and we started chatting and talking about his story, and it was really so interesting because I love to understand how people got to where they are. So I'm excited to go deep into that right now. So thank you for having us here.
You're welcome.
And I just want to give a shout out again to everybody for being here. A special shout out to Rick and Louisa Denstead, who are in the audience. My parents are in town from Flagstaff.
Yeah.
I know some of you have seen the Conejo Valley Visionaries tour with Rick. He's very opinionated, so you can ask him all about his favorite places in the Conejo Valley, and he will share them with you. But I'm so grateful that they are the biggest supporters, and it means so much to me that they are here tonight. So thank you for that. Oh yeah, they drove, as they want you to know, they drove 500 miles to be here. So it's got to be a good night. I've already gotten feedback, so it's great. They are not shy with the feedback, but it makes me so happy that you guys are all here. And I want to say this will be airing on Thursday. Conejo Valley Visionaries, if you're not familiar and you found us through Sunrose, is a podcast where we interview local entrepreneurs and tell the stories about the people and places in the area. And so it airs every Thursday on anywhere you watch podcasts. This is a special one, though, because we're going to do it live with Marc here. So what I always like to do with the podcast is understand what you wanted to be when you grew up. So, Marc, what did you want to be when you were a little kid?
Wow. I think a little bit of this, what I am. I, from a very early age, did not like school. I was not, that was not for me. And I really liked people, I think, and I love talking to people. My family, my mom's family, goes back to restaurant. My grandfather owned a few restaurants back in Massachusetts, and my uncle was in that business as well. So I guess it was kind of in my blood a little bit, but I just found as soon as I got into it, I loved it. And it was fun.
What age were you when you got into it?
My first job was at my uncle's McDonald's in Needham, Massachusetts.
Which is a good training ground for a lot of things.
It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. I spent the summer of, I think after 9th grade, back there, and it was really fun. And then as soon as I turned 16, the week after I turned 16, I got a job at Brent's Deli driving a week after I got my license.
And this was in Northridge.
Yes.
That's where you grew up.
Yes.
Okay. And I like the story about driving, because what year was this? Not to age you, but...
This was probably 89, 90.
Okay. So
Yeah.
pre-smartphone, pre-GPS,
Yeah.
what were you driving and what were you doing and how were you getting around?
So I remember it so clearly. I couldn't believe I got this job. I was going to be driving. They had these old vans. And I remember them giving me the keys and telling me to go out and just thinking, I hope this isn't a stick. I don't know how to drive a stick. And then them sending me off into the world. I had no idea of street names. And this was back before our phones. This was Thomas Guide for all of you.
Okay, just raise your hand if you know Thomas Guide. I was not familiar. Oh, okay. Good.
Wow, see?
Yeah.
Everybody knows Thomas
I
Guide.
don't know Thomas Guide. I'm sure there's a lot of us who don't.
You had to have a Thomas Guide.
So how did that work?
So Thomas Guide was a book that had the map of everywhere in your city, and there were different cities, and then you would turn to page like 52A3, and you'd have to go in and find the page. And I'd be driving, and it would be like 1952 Satakoy. I didn't know which way Satakoy was, and then you'd get lost. There were no phones. You'd have to pull over to a payphone. It was very stressful at a young age.
It sounds like it. And you were delivering, it was sort of like early days of food delivery to like bring food to people?
Yeah. Brent, my father-in-law, Ron, really was on kind of the forefront of delivery. And we had a fleet of vans. I mean, back then it was like 3. But, now they got like 10 driving around, refrigerated trucks. But it was at the beginning. It was this old van, and we'd have catering trays and deliver them and hope you didn't spill.
So you worked there at 16, week after you turned 16 years old. How long were you there? And did that make you love the food industry or despise it?
Oh, love it. Love it. I mean, I was a 16-year-old kid working with back then, all these men in the deli. And that was, it was a different age. People would go to the deli and do their marketing, come in, you'd see the same people. And it would be a lot of like, fooling around, kibitzing with the ladies who came in. And it was just really fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. It was lots of hard work. But it was not like work.
How would you describe it as somebody who has not been to the Brent's Deli in Northridge? How does it compare to the Westlake location?
Oh, it's completely different. So Northridge is you think of a New York deli, that's what it is. Packed with people, sounds like that. Always stuff going on, a lot of tumult, and back then it was even smaller than it is now. They expanded back in like 94. But it was a small family restaurant. There was probably like 35 employees. Everybody knew everybody. And it made me love it. Like, this is what I wanted to do. So that's how I further got involved.
Right. And then you went and actually studied hospitality or food and beverage at Cornell.
Yeah. So I found out I could do this for a living, or thought I could, and my uncle had actually gone to Cornell, has a good hotel management is what it's technically called, school, and I applied, and I did not think I was going. I thought I was going to UNLV. They also had a hospitality school, and somehow I got in, and then I went off to New York, that was a change.
What's one of your favorite stories from that time?
From Cornell?
Yes.
Well, that I can tell here.
Please. You can go everything's open here.
Yeah, I guess it's all open. I had a lot of fun in college. I went to a school that was, Cornell is known not necessarily for the hospitality school. It's known for intellectual scholarship. And I went and had a lot of fun. I was talking to somebody back here just a few minutes ago about how when I went to school, the first thing I did, the second day I got there, was got a job because I knew I had to work. And I worked there's a hotel on campus that I worked at through the 4 years that I was there, and that was great. But that was really my focus. I went to school. I knew I wanted to get a degree, so I knew I needed to get at least a C- average, which probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. But I really had a lot of fun at school.
Right. And it sounds like you liked the hotel management or banquet kind of catering part of it.
I got involved in the hotel at the banquet department, and because I was working there a lot, by the time my senior year came around, I was the banquet manager. I was pretty much working full time, and the year between my junior and senior year, I stayed with a bunch of friends over the summer. I got them all jobs at the hotel. My sister at the time was going there. She worked there. It was so much fun. It was like a party for a lot of years. A lot of years.
Totally, I love that. And that sort of maybe inspired you to stay in the industry after you graduated. What was your plan with this degree?
Yeah, I did learn a lot. I mean, I did go to some school. But while I was there, I think I got a lot of like real experience work. There were different like concentrations. I was a food and beverage concentration, which even in the hotel school was looked at as like the easier one to be. So like a joke at Cornell is like, how many hoteliers does it take to screw in a light bulb? One, but he gets 4 credits for it. So that's kind of the
food and beverage comedy. I like it. Yeah.
So I got into, I forget where I was going.
After school, what did you want to do with this degree?
So I got really into banquets. That's what I was into through school. I knew I wanted to do my own thing. I always knew that. I knew I wasn't necessarily the best at listening to other people. But I was in banquets. I had a lot of credibility coming from the school. I got a great job at a small boutique hotel in Dallas after I graduated. I spent a couple of years there, and I really didn't like Dallas. Back in the mid-'90s, it was just like chain restaurants and mini malls everywhere I drove, and no mountains or anything.
Yeah. So what brought you back to California?
I hated Texas. Yeah. And sorry. Yeah, there's nobody that loves their state, the shape of their state, more than Texas. Everywhere you go, there's a Texas or a Texas flag. But I came back, and my family was here. I loved California. I had spent 4 years in Ithaca, New York, which is cold and snowy from October to May. I think it snowed on my graduation. And, I came back to be in California, and I had, done a couple of things, and then it's interesting because my mom had gotten me the job.
Shout out, Mom.
Yeah. Had gotten me the job at the first place because we were Brent's customers, and she's like, go talk to Ron. He'll give you a job. And now we're 10 years later, and she's like, hey, because she would always tell him what I was doing. I think he wrote me a recommendation for Cornell, and she's like, Ron needs a night manager. I was like, okay, great, I'll go there. And I'll learn, how to do what he did to create this environment. Because I had come from a hotel who, when I was there, went public, and it became very all about EBITDA and all about numbers, and the hospitality went away, and I had worked 4 years in kind of fine dining banquets, and I didn't like that, coming from the Deli and casual, and I'm casual. I love the fact that I finally at a place where I can wear a baseball hat and whatever I want every day. So coming back was just really exciting.
Yeah, and what a full circle. That's incredible. What was your biggest lesson that you learned during your time in those early years being back at Brent's?
What were my early lessons? I mean, I learned a lot about the passion for excellence, from Ron, and he started that business with, just making every sandwich and knowing that if he made every sandwich perfect, people would come. And there was a passion for that excellence that you don't find a lot.
Okay. Now, there is a co-owner in Sunrose, which is Carie Hernandez.
Where is she?
Carie, are you there?
Probably in the back.
Oh, she's in the back over there. Carie. Hi, Carie. Everybody give a round of applause for Carie, please. Yeah. Woohoo! So at what point did you and Carie connect? Excuse me. There's a relationship there within Brent. So tell us how that relationship began, if you will.
Well, we met at Brent's. When I came back, she's a couple years older than me. Not that I'm saying anything, but so when I was in high school, it really wasn't. She was just the owner's daughter, the attractive owner's daughter.
Thank you.
And
that's good.
when I came back, she was there. She was a manager there, and we started spending more time together, and there was a connection, but I knew what I wanted to go there and learn how to run this restaurant so I could go do my own thing, and now I had Carie.
Well, you said your friends were not so positive because they wanted to keep your job.
Well, it's funny because it was about a year after I had started working there, and I had a birthday party, and it was like, I was talking to them about this because I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to, once you go there, there's no going back. But, it just was, we had something really special, and it's been great for almost 25 years.
Wow, congratulations. That's amazing. And to see some of your kids here in the audience is also awesome. So we'll get to that in a minute. But so you were at Brent's, you and Carie started a relationship. At what point, I only know Brent's from the Westlake location. So can you talk us through how that path went? It sounds like you stayed at Brent's, and at what point did you guys decide, let's open here in Westlake? And I'm also curious as to why, from Northridge to here.
Yeah, that's a great question. So as I said, I always wanted to do, my own thing, and we had such a great business, or they had such a great business at Brent's in Northridge, and it was small, and it had expanded, and really had expanded organically over, the almost 30 years from 1969 when he bought it to this was the late 90s and going into the 2000s. I had really taken a lot of what Ron had done in that passion for, making every sandwich perfect and trying to systemize it so we could grow. Because it's very different when you're making every sandwich than trying to let other people make every sandwich. And I think one of the things that people don't get about this business that I think is the hardest thing is that there are so many touch points. People expect excellence, and especially right now, everybody's a critic and everybody knows a lot more about food than they did. And for somebody to just come in here and have a good experience, there's so many things that have to go right. And you come into a restaurant, and from just the host to the cleanliness of the outside windows to whoever's seating you, to sitting at the table, to the glassware all being clean, to the busser, to all the cooks that make it, all those people have to be perfect. And to get that perfection to happen 10 times for one person just to have an okay experience, to be able to try to systemize that again and again is something I really tried to do. We got very into technology early on. We custom built a catering program, all with the idea of expanding and pushing to open another location, which I would push. And if anybody knows me, I can be, once I get on something, I don't really let up.
What year was that in which the pushing sort of...
So the pushing really officially started in 2003. is when I was like, we're doing this. I don't care how many times you guys say we're not doing this. I'm going to find a location. We're going to make this happen. And I really believe, based on, well, just knowing this area and believing, like, after the Northridge earthquake, so many people kind of moved out west. And we knew where our catering was going, where we were delivering was all moving out to Oak Park, Agoura, Westlake. We really felt like this would be the area. We were nervous even being that close. So I started looking, and that was in 2003. We found the location and signed the lease on Westlake in October of 2005 and opened in August of 2006.
Okay. Oh, it took a while to kind of find the right location.
Yeah.
Interesting, which is different than Sunrose.
Yes.
So you opened the Westlake location 2006. At what point did you decide, because obviously we're here in Sunrose California Eatery, when did you guys get inspired to transition into this space?
Well, there's a lifetime of stories in Westlake, and
anyone particularly you want to share?
Oh, I mean, Westlake we were very fortunate that the internet wasn't around like it is today when we opened that location, because we had no idea what we were doing. I've said, I know for a fact that I know less now than I thought I knew then 20 years ago.
I'll take the self-awareness.
I thought I knew a lot. Nobody on our team had really ever opened another restaurant. We got way over our head in what we thought was going to be a remodel, and we gutted a 10,000 square foot restaurant. And it just... we were busy. Like, when a restaurant opens, you want to start off, you want to have people, but you want to start off with a steady flow, so there's going to be a lot of bumps in the road. I mean, now the professional restaurants, they know what they're doing, they get it done, but we had no idea what we were doing. And I remember opening at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and there was like a line of people, and it just was. I learned very quickly how a restaurant can be very busy and lose a lot of money at the same time. And that took us a while to get out those kinks, and it was a rough patch there at the very beginning, but we got through that. And
you also, at the same time, were having kids. You have a family, you have 4 children, so that was all happening around the same
We had
time.
3 kids then. I think Carie might have been pregnant. I don't know. Yes,
Carie confirms.
She was pregnant. And so there was a lot of young kids. I mean, there was a lot of kids. There was a lot of kids. I know.
Were they in the restaurant with you? I love paint that picture. Are they in the kitchen? They're running around.
They were there all the time. I have pictures of them when we were building the place. They grew up in there. They grew up running around in Northridge and Westlake. It was great. It was fun, and it's in their blood. And it being in this business that never stops and never closes is some of the impetus for Sunrose not necessarily being open at night, when we did that. Because it is, especially Brent's, which was open at 6 to 9 every day. We closed on Thanksgiving, that was it. So that was only one day of the year where you weren't worried about the phone ringing and what was gonna, go wrong.
Yeah. So that you mentioned that was one of the reasons for Sunrose. So at what point did that move happen?
So I've had, and we can get into that a little more. I've had a journey with sobriety, and I think one of the things that in the mid 2000 teen time, I stopped smoking weed, and I think that really like woke me up to the idea of what I really wanted, to some things, and what I really wanted to do, and where I was, and that life is short, and it led to some decisions and talking about paths, and I really wanted to do something on my own, and Carie and I decided to leave and do this, and it's been really exciting, to be able to do something that it's very interesting to be sitting here in this restaurant when 2.5 years ago it was literally just a deck, and like a month before that it was just a thought in my head. So it's exciting to see, like, to be sitting here and feel like it's real.
Well, and just celebrating 2-year anniversary, you can get a big round of applause for that. It's huge. Just to touch, and thank you for sharing about the sobriety, because I think that's something that is not always, it's a very vulnerable thing to share, but also because you have mentioned a couple of times this idea that you wanted to do something on your own. So it sounds like that, by not imbibing, at least in one substance, that helped you sort of have clarity on maybe going down that path. Do I understand that correctly?
I mean, it's been a path. That whole path is something right now I feel very passionate about. I think it's been the best thing I've done in my life. I think some people in my life might share that opinion. But
I mean, the restaurant industry is hard, right? I work as
hard.
a hostess. I mean, it's hard not to, especially if you're working late at a bar. There's a lot.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of fun, and I don't look back and regret the fun I had, because I had a lot of fun, and but at a certain point, if you go to the Partying Hall of Fame, my jersey's hung up there because all the greats have to retire at some point, and I did, and it just kind of happened. It actually happened as we went to open Sunrose. I was thinking about the process and what had to go into it and the time and dedication that I needed, and I kind of went down this path and said, okay, I'm not going to drink until we open. And that just kind of turned into, well, now we're open, why would I drink? And it's just been a great, it's been, kind of some of the best few years of my life. But that's been part of it. I mean, being able to always, it's very different to do something that's on your own, that you created. And really, when you do look at this place, every single thing is intentional. I mean, I look around and I'm like, I know why this is here. And I remember picking that plant, and, from every silverware to every dishware, I think it's all those. I truly believe it's and I get into some conversations with people about little detailed things, because I feel like it's all the details, like a painting, it's every brushstroke that makes up the big picture. When you come into a restaurant, and our goal is to create unforgettable experiences. It's not to have the best food. It's not to have the best service. We want all those things, but our goal is to create those experiences, and the experience comes from everything. It's the music, it's the touch points, it's the feel of the table.
And I think all of us can say that we experience that and feel that here. So thank you for taking such, you're overthinking to the 10th degree to make that all happen. So Sunrose opened 2 years ago. Your family, we have great pictures of you guys all working on this together. It's still very much a family-run business. I think all of us who have been here before see you and Carie in the restaurant every day. Originally launched as a brunch, weekend vibes all week long. You're on the precipice of sort of reimagining your dinner service. How do you guys do it? What is how are you feeling 2 years in? What is, you sounded like originally it was nice because you weren't going to have nighttime hours, but now we're going into dinner full force. So
It's great. I mean, the idea of the daytime really just sounded great. But always the idea was we could always be open at night. And the idea was to do events here. And the space is built very intentionally that nothing in here is bolted to the ground. Everything moves, so we can set up events like this now. And really early on, we started with events, and they were going well, but the challenge was we were doing them and we were here at night, and it wasn't every night and it wasn't every weekend, and it was very hard to staff. And I was like, well, if we're gonna do this, we might as well do it. So we opened for 3 nights a week, but looking back at that wasn't really doing it. We didn't jump in, and 3 nights is kind of weird, and people don't know your hours. And so now we're really jumping in almost all the way with 5 nights. And we're staying open later. We're open till 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock on the weekends. So I'm super excited. I mean, the food has really been, in creating Sunrose, I knew that the food was going to be a big part of it. I know that sounds funny when you're talking about a restaurant, but it is everything. But the food became, as Sunrose came about, it wasn't just me and my head. I had some original ideas, but if you looked at my first rendering of what this place looked like, it did not look like this. I had a really good team of people. I was able to trust them, and this has evolved into what it is, and the nights are evolving, and the food evolved based on a lot of what you guys wanted. I was not as focused on, I knew I wanted good food, but focused on quality, organic, local, wholesome. And really first of all, I found that I felt better eating it. And it was fun. It was really getting into the ingredients. And so as we create this evening menu, I'm super excited. And it's come about, we don't have a chef, but we've worked with chefs, and I actually just brought back the original culinary, his name's Scott Boggs, that we worked with, and he helped with some of the dishes, but it's been a team effort. We do it together. We come up with some of these recipes, staff has involvement.
As being sort of an observer of the process, it is really amazing to see all the versions of each dish that you've been working on, whether it be the food or the alcohol or the desserts, which you all will be able to sample at the end of the evening too. But it's been very thoughtful, and all the touch points and the lighting. It's really you're putting a lot of effort into it, and I think people are gonna really feel that. Just quick shout out, there is a piece of paper on your seats that you should come back when dinner launches in the next 2 weeks and come and get a dessert on us to experience the dinner. What are you most proud of, Marc?
What am I most proud of in life?
Yes.
I think my family. I got a great wife, and my kids are all pretty great. 2 of my favorite kids are here right now. No, they're all great, but they know that. They're all my favorites. But, they helped build this place, and the reality, we did this. And Ella, who's back there somewhere, we used to call her head of construction. She, demoed most of this place. She did the tile. My daughter Ava was here. My son Ryan, who is currently at culinary school, and he's at CIA, and he did a lot of the baking here. And my other son Jack, who's sitting right here, works for the Rams. But it's a family. When we were coming up with the name Sunrose, we would sit down every night. I think everybody was home at the time. And I'd just be like, okay, everybody needs to come up with 10 names. Gotta go to bed. And we were just it's been great.
What's been the most challenging?
What's been the most challenging? That's a great question. I think it's such a broad question. Like in my life, there's been lots of challenging moments and times. There's been good times and bad times, but I think just in those tough times, staying positive and knowing that time gets you through all those things, and time goes and heals all wounds. I don't know. I don't think I answered that question.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I understand. Maybe this is a little easier. What do you think about running a business in the Conejo Valley? This is Agoura Hills. We're in the Wizen Market. It's a very Agoura location, but you're deeply involved. What do you think about running business here in the community that patrons your business every day?
Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, Carie and I moved out to this area back in 2008, and it's been great. We've been very involved, through Brent, I was very involved in the kids' schools, in the Boys and Girls Club out here, and Las Virgenes Unified School District. For a period of time, that was a big part of my life, doing some nonprofit work. And it's just really exciting to be part of it, to know that we've been part of it for so long. And it is such a unique, we do not realize, I think, how lucky we are. I mean, sitting out here, looking at the Lady Face Mountains, which, obviously we can't see right now, but it's so beautiful, so close to Malibu. And we just, it's lucky. It's like,
Yeah. Okay, before we get to audience questions, because we have a couple minutes for a few of those, but what is one piece of advice you would offer to a first-time entrepreneur? There might be some of them out listening.
Keep going. Be sure of yourself. And one of the great things about business is you can keep trying, you can try different things, you can fail and fail and fail. And then if that last one's a success, that's all people remember. You just gotta keep going, and be sure of yourself. And I think if you have that passion and, I guess let's keep going.
So if people were to remember you by Sunrose, would that make you feel good?
Sure. There's lots of things. I don't need to be remembered for Sunrose. I got pretty great kids. They can remember me for them. But yeah, no, that would be great.
But out of your businesses, out of something you've been wanting to start on your own, are you happy that it is Sunrose is a thing that you took out and really made that leap?
I'll be happy when they think of Sunrose and the other Sunroses.
Oh, okay. So more locations to come is what I understand.
Or more, we'll see.
Okay, little cliffhanger. Okay, so we have a couple minutes, I believe, before dessert and dessert drinks. I see a listener named Rick Denstead who wants to ask a question. Maybe Cam, do you mind handing over the mic over here?
Thank you very much. And my daughter did a wonderful job.
She did, I agree.
Along with Hope. And I'm not paid to do this. But for Marc, how realistic is the bear?
Oh, it is.
Okay.
That is it. They have done an incredible job of capturing the tension and feel inside a restaurant. And in moments, that is very much what it feels like. Yes.
I still haven't watched it, which is crazy. As a restaurant lover, I have never seen the movies, or the show, excuse me. Great question, Dad. Any other questions? Oh, I see one in the back.
Very superficial question. Why was there only one, and where's the disco ball?
Oh, that's a great question.
I have been wondering that
There's
myself.
one right there. There's one right
Little
up
baby
there.
Where's this one?
It's back in the hallway because as we're playing with the lights for the evening, I'm going to put it in, because we're going to be closing the cafe and just have that more as a display, and I'm going to be having it hanging, actually working in there. And I didn't get it up in time for today.
What about the first part of the question? Why is there only one? Do you mean one Sunrose location? Oh, one.
But there
disco
is a
ball.
little one right here. See, it's right here in this corner. There was a party here. It was a disco themed party, and they left it, and I just left it up.
Any other questions? Yes. Cam, up in the front row.
She said she was going to heckle me.
I'm a bad heckler.
We encourage it.
So I was just wondering what your hiring process is, because one of the great things about coming to Sunrose is the people. And it starts with you and Carie, I know that. But then it's carried throughout with just their attitudes and friendliness, and the food is obviously awesome. So I was just curious, what are your tricks for choosing your team?
That is a great question, and I will love talking about it because I've been doing this for almost 40 years, which is scary to say. And from early on, I was in some sort of like managerial, even in college position. So I've been hiring a long time. And I think over all those years, I've developed what I think works. And it's not perfect. Sometimes I'm amazed at how not perfect it is. But it's very specific. We do 3 interviews for every position here, no matter what it is. And the first interview is with me. And it's not even really an interview. It is more of me talking to them for a half hour. And I go through what it's like to work here. And I go through all our values. And I tell them very clearly what it's like to work here. If you're the kind of person that can't come to work on time, it's not going to work. We have systems, and we believe in systems because systems give people freedom. You know, and I don't want everybody to be a robot. I want people to be themselves, but we do have systems. And we have a big box that you got to be in. But if you're the kind of person that likes bumping up against that all the time, it's not going to work. And I'm very, very clear. And I did that more for myself than for them because it made it much easier for me to hold people accountable because it's cultural fit that I'm looking for. That's the most important thing. So I do that. Then the second interview is with 2 team members, 2 people who are in that position. And again, what I say to the candidate is, this is just as important for them as it is for me. We want you to make sure this is a good fit. You're going to know more than we are. So that process happens. And then in that process, I make it very clear that I'm done. If I have them go to the second, that doesn't mean they have to hire them. They decide. They overrule me. And it also gives buy-in to those people who are going to be working, because you get these new employees who come in and the staff's like, why'd you hire this guy? And now I'm like, I didn't, you guys did. And then, so they go on to that, and then the last interview is what we call a working interview, and we have them come in and they shadow a shift for a couple hours. And again, it's also they get to see what the job's like, and we get to see them in the job.
Which is so thoughtful for a restaurant. I remember when you first shared that with me, it feels like a corporate sort of process, but you mentioned, 30% of your team were here from the beginning. Obviously, you feel it when you're in here too, so it makes a difference, and that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the people are the most important thing we have, period. I say it, I truly believe it. The most important job I have is hiring, and I have I say this in the interview. I have 2 jobs. The first one is to hire the right people, and the second job is to make sure that only the right people work here.
Boom. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to re-listen to it, we're going to be airing this interview on Conejo Valley Visionaries on this Thursday, so stay tuned for that. We appreciate your time with us and your questions, and please come back from November 5th, or I believe it's the 16th, get a free dessert with your dinner, and go make a reservation at sunrosece.com. And thank you all for being here. Cheers.
Good job. Thank you very much. Enjoy. There's some good food out there.
Yeah, some dessert and some dessert cocktails are over on the tables, so enjoy. Thank you for listening to Conejo Valley Visionaries. If you like today's episode, make sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen. And don't forget to rate and review us. That's the best way to support the podcast. To enter our giveaways, learn about local events, and to find out more about each guest, follow at Conejo Valley Visionaries on Instagram. If you want to share your visionary story on the podcast, send us an email. We are always open to guest nominations. Email conejovalleyvisionaries@gmail.com. This episode was produced by Christina Denstead and Justin K. Sloan. Conejo Valley Visionaries is edited by Justin K. Sloan and J. Sloan Productions.